That's all it was supposed to be. A normal Thursday night. I made spaghetti, garlic bread. My usual because I was the one who cooked most nights. My mom called it rehearsal for real life. As if I wasn't already living in it. My brother had just come home from college, again after dropping another class. My parents acted like it was no big deal. It's all part of the journey, my dad said. But when I mentioned that I had a meeting the next day with a client who might double my freelancing income, my mom rolled her eyes. Must be nice to sit at home on your computer all day. I paused. It's not easy, but I'm doing okay. I've been helping with. You're not helping, she snapped. You're surviving under our roof. That's when I looked at my dad, hoping, just once, he'd correct her. He didn't. He just kept cutting his food. I should have stopped there. But something in me cracked. Actually, I've been paying more than half the mortgage since last year. The room went silent. Even my brother looked up from his phone. Mom scoffed. What are you talking about? I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, a printout of my auto-pay confirmation, the one I'd been using every month without fail. Quietly. Consistently. This. It comes out on the 4th. Every month. $1,140. From my account, my dad finally looked up. Not with pride. With rage. And what? You want a trophy? You think this house is yours now? No, I said quietly. I just wanted a little respect. That's when Mom stood up. You want respect? You earn it by knowing your place. This is our home. Our rules. You don't like it? She threw her napkin down. Get out. And don't come back. Just like that. No hesitation. No hesitation. I turned to my dad. He didn't even look at me. You heard her. The silence in my throat was louder than any scream. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded, stood up from the table, and walked down to my room. I packed one bag. Laptop. Charger. A few clothes. The small envelope of emergency cash I'd been saving, just in case. Turns out just in case was now. I didn't slam any doors. Didn't yell. Didn't beg. Didn't leave a note. I left silently. Because when someone tells you you're not welcome, believe them. My name is Tessa. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because they thought they were cutting me off. But what they really did was cut themselves off from the one person keeping their roof above their heads. And 3 months from that night, they'd remember exactly what it cost them. They liked to say I lived under their roof. Like I was some freeloader on their generosity. But here's the truth. That roof wasn't theirs. Not anymore. It had been refinanced twice. The second time was after my dad lost his job during the pandemic and never fully bounced back. My mom picked up part-time work at a local office, but it barely covered groceries, and my younger brother's tuition was bleeding them dry. They wouldn't admit any of it. Pride came before every unpaid bill. That's where I came in. I had been working as a freelance web designer for about a year and a half. It wasn't flashy, I didn't post about it, didn't brag. I just worked, built Shopify stores, cleaned up code, rebranded small businesses on Instagram. I stacked savings slowly, and when I found out the house was slipping toward default, I stepped in. Quietly. One night, I overheard my parents arguing about being a month behind again. So I called the mortgage company the next morning, gave them the account number from an old bill I found on the printer, and asked what I could do. They told me the minimum to stay current. I paid it. $1,140. Then I set it to repeat. Every month. On the 4th. No one knew. Because I didn't do it to be praised. I did it because the idea of my family losing the house made me sick. Because even if they didn't say it, I knew no one else could or would help. I even picked up extra clients to make sure I could keep covering it, skipping sleep, saying no to vacations, grinding through edits at 3 a.m. But I was still just the girl in the basement. My mom used to call it letting me stay rent-free, a joke she liked to repeat at family gatherings. No one ever asked what I paid for. No one cared that I handled utilities most months, that I bought my brother's textbooks once, that I kept the Wi-Fi running. They just called me sensitive when I asked for a little space. Dramatic when I said I felt invisible. Ungrateful when I wanted to move out. And then they told me to get out. Like I was taking up space in a life I had helped fund. And what hit me hardest that night wasn't the cruelty, it was the clarity. I had given everything and meant nothing. That's when I shut off the autopay. Same night I left. Logged in, canceled the recurring payment, and marked the property as no longer my residence in the portal. 3 clicks. That's all it took to return the full weight of that roof to their shoulders. They didn't notice, of course. Not yet. Because people who are used to taking without asking never notice when the hand stops giving until it's gone. And when they finally do, they don't ask why. They ask how dare you. But me? I didn't answer. I just waited. Because bills don't lie. And neither do empty mailboxes. I left without a fight. Without a bag full of accusations. Without a door slammed behind me. And they didn't even ask where I went. No, are you okay? No, do you have somewhere to stay? No, let's talk when we've all calmed down. Just silence. And that told me everything I needed to know. I moved in with my friend Jules, the only person who'd ever seen how thin I was stretched. She let me stay in her spare room rent-free at first, even though I offered. She said, "You've been taking care of everyone else. Let someone take care of you for once." I almost cried. Not because it was kind, but because it felt unfamiliar. For the first time, I had a space where I wasn't walking on eggshells. Where no one barked orders. Where I wasn't the background character in someone else's perfect family narrative. I set up my desk near the window, lit a $4 candle I couldn't afford before, and worked late into the nights without someone knocking on the door asking when dinner would be ready. The first week after I left, not a single text. Then the second week. Then the third. I thought maybe my brother would reach out. He didn't. Instead, I saw him post a video on Instagram, smiling on the couch, my parents in the background, laughing, eating takeout. Same kitchen table. Same house. Like I never existed. I watched the story and whispered, "There's your ungrateful burden. Gone." And no one even blinked. But that's how it always was. I was only visible when something needed fixing. When the car broke down. When the Wi-Fi died. When the loan payment bounced. Now that I was gone and quiet, they could pretend I never mattered. And I let them. Because sometimes the only thing louder than screaming is absence. Meanwhile, I finally started living. I took walks in the middle of the day. Signed 2 new clients. Took myself out to dinner on a Thursday and didn't have to justify it to anyone. Jules taught me how to make cocktails. We laughed, really laughed, like I hadn't since I was 17. I could breathe. I wasn't carrying a house full of resentment and roof leaks on my back anymore. And I knew the day was coming. The day the first unpaid mortgage notice would land in their mailbox. The day they'd check their banking app and see a blank space where my deposit used to be. The day the silence would finally speak. But I didn't reach out. Didn't warn them. Didn't explain. Didn't remind them of what I used to pay. Because if they needed a reminder, they never really valued me to begin with. I let the clock tick. 30 days. 60. 90. And still nothing. Until one morning, as I was stirring sugar into my coffee, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in 3 months. Dad. One message. One question. Why didn't you pay the mortgage? I looked at it for a long moment, took a sip of my coffee, then typed back slowly. I thought I wasn't welcome. I hit send. And then, my phone exploded. They thought I was bluffing. That's the only explanation I have for the 3 months of silence that followed after they kicked me out. Because surely, they didn't think the mortgage just paid itself. Or maybe they did. Maybe they were so used to money magically showing up that they truly believed the world would keep spinning even after they threw out the only one turning the gears. But banks don't operate on denial. They operate on due dates. On numbers. On cold, hard facts. The first overdue notice came a month after I canceled my auto pay. I didn't see it, obviously. But I knew when it came. Because suddenly, my inbox pinged with an email. Subject: Address discrepancy confirmation. Mortgage statement. It was from the mortgage company, verifying that I had updated my residence and removed my account from all payment responsibilities. I replied, "Yes, confirmed. I am no longer living at that address. I am not the homeowner. Please direct any further inquiries to the primary borrowers." That was all. One line. And it was like slicing the cord they'd been dangling by. The second notice came 30 days later. That's when the late fees kicked in. When the mortgage company called them directly, not me. When my dad's phone started lighting up with unfamiliar numbers that couldn't be ignored. And yet, still, no one reached out to me. No apology. No, we didn't realize. Just silence. Until that fourth month. Until the moment the final warning arrived. The bright red kind with words like pre-foreclosure and legal action stamped across it. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. That's when Dad texted, "Why didn't you pay the mortgage?" 7 words. That's all it took to ignite the fire they'd been sitting on for 90 days like it wasn't real. I replied, "I thought I wasn't welcome." Within 5 minutes, I had 3 missed calls, 2 long texts from Mom, 1 voicemail from my brother saying, "You should have told us you were serious." Serious? I had walked out with 1 bag and 0 money owed to anyone in that house. The only serious thing was their assumption that I'd continue to finance the very people who threw me away. That same afternoon, I logged into the mortgage account, not to pay, but to watch. Their balance was now nearly $4,000 overdue. They'd never seen that number, because I'd shielded them from it. I used to schedule payments ahead of time. Paid their late fees before they even got notifications. They thought they were staying afloat when really, I was the life raft. And the second I stepped off, the ship started sinking. Mom finally called me that evening. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, her voice trembling, half crying. "We made a mistake. Please, Tessa. This is your family. We didn't know how much you were doing. We thought you'd always be here." That last line stuck with me. We thought you'd always be here. That was the problem. They never saw me. They saw my usefulness, my wallet, my quiet loyalty, my ability to hold things together while they chipped away at my worth. Now, they were seeing the cracks, not in the house, in the story they'd been telling themselves. And for once, I wasn't patching it up for them. I don't know what exactly I expected after I sent the message. I thought I wasn't welcome. But I didn't expect this. Within minutes, my phone lit up like it had caught fire. Police Garlight 8 missed calls. Police Garlight 2 voicemails. Police Garlight 17 unread texts. All from them. The parents who told me to get out like I was a stranger. The people who turned their backs while I packed the only life I had into a duffel bag. Now I was valuable again. Now they remembered I existed. Funny how the threat of losing a house finally did what love, effort, and silent sacrifice never could. Made them care. The messages weren't even apologetic at first. They were frantic, scattered, self-centered. "Tessa, this isn't how families act. You could have just said something. We're drowning here. Please don't let us lose everything." And my favorite, "You're overreacting. We didn't really mean it when we told you to leave." Didn't mean it? They said it with teeth. With certainty. They didn't whisper it in anger. They shouted it like a verdict. But now, with a foreclosure letter staring them in the face and credit scores slipping into the basement, suddenly their words were negotiable. I listened to the first voicemail from Mom. Her voice was shaking, the kind of panic that only shows up when comfort dies. "Tessa, we're sorry. We didn't know you were paying so much. Your father is calling the bank, but we're behind. We need your help. Please. Let's fix this. As a family." Family. They loved pulling that word out when they were in trouble. But where was that word when I was working 14-hour days just to keep the lights on in their home? Where was family when they dismissed my business, my work, my voice? Where was family when they let me walk out without asking if I had a place to sleep? The second voicemail was shorter. My dad. A man who rarely spoke unless it was a command. "Tessa, we misjudged. I'll admit that. But the house is in real danger. Can you come home? Just for now." That was the one that almost made me laugh. Come home? The house they claimed I didn't belong in? The one I paid for quietly, month after month, while they looked through me like fogged glass. The same house where my worth ended the second my payments did?
No.
They didn't want me. They wanted the money, the roof, the rescue, the return of the invisible daughter who solved everything in silence. But that girl? She was gone, replaced by someone who finally understood her value. And this version of me wasn't going back. I typed one message. No flourish, no anger, no lecture, just clarity. You said I didn't belong. I believed you. I hit send, blocked the numbers. Not out of revenge, out of peace. Because sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's a boundary. And they were finally on the other side of it. I thought I'd feel guilty. That's what years of being the family fixer trains you to believe, that their pain is somehow your fault. That if they're falling, you're supposed to catch them. But when the notice of public foreclosure hit the county's website, I felt nothing. Not anger, not joy, just clarity. Because this was never my mess. This was the storm they brewed when they dismissed my work, silenced my presence, and threw me out like an old receipt.
And now?
The roof was finally caving in. Jules texted me a screenshot. Is this your parents' house? Flushed face. It was a listing from a local foreclosure watch group, one of those community accounts that posts every pre-auction property. The caption was brutal. 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. Delinquent. Current owners 90+ days late. Auction pending. Underneath were comments. Wasn't that the Mercer's place? Didn't their daughter move out? Yikes. They always acted so put together. Their shame wasn't private anymore. It was searchable. A week later, my brother tried to DM me. You proved your point. Can you please help them now?
This isn't just about them.
It's our family home. I didn't respond. Because if I was worth nothing to them when I was quiet, giving, and invisible, I'm not about to become their ATM now that everyone else can see what I carried. Another voicemail came, this time from Mom. Soft, crumbling. Your father won't speak. He just sits there. We have 30 days before we're out. We're not asking for charity. Just a second chance. That's all I ever wanted from them. A second chance to be seen.
Heard. Valued.
And they waited until their entire foundation cracked to offer me the very thing they withheld when I needed it most. They didn't want me back. They wanted their comfort back. The kind I paid for. The kind they never thanked me for. The kind they told their friends they earned themselves. That's the part no one saw. The family barbecues where they bragged about weathering the economy. The church announcements where they smiled and talked about blessings. All funded by the girl in the basement. The girl they erased. I received a formal email from the mortgage company a few days later, not as a borrower, but as a listed previous payer. We are finalizing proceedings. The property is scheduled for auction on the 3rd of next month. If you are interested in acquiring it, please contact us. That last line sat with me. Because yes, I could have bought the house. I had enough in savings. I had the credit, the income, the means. But why would I buy a house soaked in gaslighting and guilt? Why would I go back to a place that was never truly mine? I deleted the email. Then I opened a new one, a contract for a loft space downtown. One with high ceilings, clean windows, room for a real studio, and a reading nook I never had space for before. And, in that space, I'd build something new. Not from debt, not from duty, from choice. While they watched the house I once held up with my own bare hands slip through theirs. The first night in my new place, I stood barefoot in the middle of the living room with the lights off. No furniture yet. No curtains. Just moonlight across the floor and silence thick with peace. And I whispered to no one. This is mine. My name on the lease. My money on the deposit. My sweat behind every cent of it. No one co-signed. No one covered. No one guilt me into being thankful. And still, I had more freedom than I ever did under a roof my name wasn't even on. The first night, I ordered takeout and ate it sitting on the floor, chopsticks, soy sauce, and a smile that wouldn't leave my face. I slept on a mattress with no frame, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and soft playlists playing from my phone. But I never felt richer, because I wasn't paying for someone else's comfort anymore. I was paying for peace. While my parents were scrambling to figure out where they'd go next, trying to stall foreclosure with negotiation letters and empty promises, I was building. I launched a new website, rebranded my freelance business, shared pieces of my story on a personal blog post titled, "Daughter, Not a Lifeline." It wasn't a rant, just truth.
Clear and sharp.
They called me selfish when I stopped carrying them, but maybe what they meant was, "We liked you better when you had no boundaries." I didn't name them.
Didn't need to.
The post took off anyway. It was shared on forums, Reddit threads, women's business pages. Hundreds of comments poured in.
Same.
I was the family's emotional janitor. My parents cut me off when I wouldn't co-sign for their second car. "You're not alone. Thank you for saying this." I wasn't trying to go viral. I was just finally speaking out loud the things so many daughters like me are taught to keep quiet, that you can love your family and still need distance. That being born into a house doesn't mean you owe it your entire adulthood. That walking away isn't betrayal, when staying would mean self-erasure. I started getting podcast invites. One brand asked to feature my quote on a hoodie. Another platform offered to license my blog post as part of a resilience course. But the best moment was when a customer, a woman who'd bought from my store years ago, messaged me. "Your candles used to make my house feel warm. Now your words make me feel safe in my own decisions. Thank you." I cried reading that, because for so long, I thought my value came from how much I could hold, how much I could give, how much I could endure without breaking. Now I knew. My value came from the truth I refused to bury anymore. And my worth was no longer negotiable. They tried one last time. A letter, handwritten, folded into thirds. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable, my mother's. Jules found it sticking out of our shared mailbox. "Tessa, this came for you. Want me to burn it?" I laughed.
No.
"I want to read it. One last time." I sat at the kitchen table, unfolded the page, and read the way you read something you already know won't change anything. It started off soft. "We miss you. We were wrong." Then it slipped into justification. "Things were stressful. We didn't realize how much pressure we put on you." Then came the ask. "We've found a small rental, but the deposit is a lot. If there's any way you can..." I stopped reading. Even now, after everything, it wasn't about me. It was about what I could fix.
They didn't want me.
They wanted the girl who used to patch their leaks, pay their bills, keep her head down and her voice low. But she didn't live here anymore. I took out a sheet of paper.
Clean.
Unfolded. Unapologetic. And I wrote, "Mom, Dad, you told me to leave. You made it clear I was not welcome. So I left. And in doing so, I finally saw the truth. That my presence was only appreciated when it came with a payment. That my silence was only respected when it served your comfort. That family only mattered when I was the one bleeding for it. You did not lose your home because I walked away. You lost it the moment you believed I was disposable. I did not abandon you. I simply believed you. And now that I've built peace without you, I'm choosing not to let you tear it down again. I won't be your solution.
Not now.
Not ever again. Tessa." I folded the letter, placed it back in the same envelope, and mailed it the next morning. I don't know what they did after they read it. Maybe they were angry. Maybe they cried. Maybe, finally, they understood. But I didn't need to know. Because closure doesn't mean they're satisfied. It means I am. A week later, I sat on the balcony of my new place with a cup of tea and a quiet that didn't demand anything from me. The world didn't fall apart. My business was growing. The peace in my chest was mine. Earned, protected, unbothered. Then my phone pinged. A new customer order. 2 candles, 1 tote bag, and a note card with a custom message. For my daughter. I told her to leave once. She hasn't come back. I'm going to fix that. Thank you for showing me what I did wrong. I stared at it for a long moment. Some stories don't get a happy ending, but sometimes they become warnings. And sometimes they become mirrors. That was enough for me. They said I wasn't welcome. So I built a life they'll never be invited into.